Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Anything Blows. Today I'm proud to be at Lakeside in Essex. Not only am I in Essex, but we're rounding off with a 13th interview of the day. Back at it in the new year with Andy Clarke. Andy, how you doing, man?
Yes, good thanks. Good thanks. Enjoyed it today. It's been good fun.
It's been good fun. The show is called Chaos. Do you agree with the nickname?
I mean, boxing's chaos generally. I find most of the time, the more of it, the better. And I think, you know, the cards that he's putting on Johny, he's looking for upsets. He's looking for 50-50 fights. He's looking for bills definitely where people don't know what's going to happen, where there's going to be some chaos. So yeah, I like it as a name. I think he's looking to do 4 or 5 shows this year, and they're all going to be like this. That's the plan. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
And one thing he did say that stands out to me is not only with 50-50s, but instead of having one fighting a journeyman, you've got 2 sets of crowds cheering, which makes the fights even better. Johny Clarke's last show was in December. It was called Established. Now we go on to Chaos. What have you seen from Johnny's first year to what he's going to bring for 2024?
I think he's looking to stay quite consistent, really, which is, like I say, provide matchups where you don't necessarily know who's going to win, and you get as many of them on the card as you can. And I think there's 3 or 4 of those on this one, and then your other fighters who are maybe in fights where they are expected to win, they understand that they need to win and look good. That this is the entertainment business, and if they want to step up to that next level where they're in a really, in a bigger fight. They have to have that potential to entertain, but also they have to be willing to take a difficult fight, a real fight, because you can just go through padding a record if you want to, but ultimately, and this is what the fighters have said to me today, you have to be of the mindset whereby you don't put too much value on that. You don't want to rush things either. I was talking to Harley Whitwell, and she's 3-0, and she's a good fighter. She can really fight, but you don't want to go too quick and going too deep too soon, because you can ruin the fighter doing that. But that's what he's looking to do, is provide these kinds of balanced shows. And I know that as the year progresses, he wants more titles. He's got an English title on the line in Zahid Hussein against Andre Grant, so that's always good. Area titles are always great. I'm sure he would love to get a British title if he can before the end of the year.
And for you, what fight stands out on this card? Because there's plenty.
I mean, the one who I've seen the most probably, I did Zahid Hussein's fight in Doncaster when he beat Razak Najib, so I've seen him a bit, but Grant Dennis is the one who's been around longest, so he's the one who I kind of know best probably, and he's taken a real interesting fight against a 4-0 fighter in Paul Osborne, over 10 rounds, so I'm kind of fascinated by that, because on the face of it, there's not really anything in that for Grant Dennis, but he obviously feels like Osborne is a dangerous enough opponent to make sure that he's up for it, and he knows that a good win on this show will keep him on, Johnny's next show maybe, and get him a better opportunity. So that kind of, that one stood out for me, because I looked at it and I just thought it was interesting that Grant Dennis was happy to take it, because on the face of it, there's the risk reward analysis doesn't necessarily stack up, but then maybe it does when he's looking longer term, so he's still got ambition basically.
100%. And one of the fights on the card that stood out to me the most was William Hamilton, which we didn't see here today, against Toby Vermeer. William 4-0 out of the iBox gym with Eddie Lam, and then Toby Vermeer 0-1, that one being a draw. Do you see that as a big risk for Toby, or do you feel it's a definition of a 50-50?
I mean, when you look at it on paper, Hamilton should be a strong favourite there, because he boxed for Repton as an amateur to get 26 fight, 22 by stoppage. He was a good fighter. I commentated on his professional debut, which was on the Golden Contract tournament we did on Sky, and he'd been waiting a while for that. And then since then, things have been quite slow. He was out of the ring for a couple of years before he boxed on a top tier show in December. But I know that he's always staying fit and staying in the gym. He just needs to fight more. Toby's had this incredible story with the weight loss journey he's been on, and from what he was telling me and from what other people tell me, he's got a good solid amateur background behind him. He's kind of learnt the ropes in that regard, and he got a draw on debut, but against a fighter whose record is quite misleading. So yeah, I am interested by that one as well. I mean, on paper you would have to make Hamilton a favourite, but a lot of people you talk to are saying that that's a close fight.
Yeah, that is a close fight, and I did say to Toby himself, and he agrees with it, that he is the underdog, but he's not here to take part, he's here to take over. Now, we move on from top tier. I want to focus on you, Andy Clarke. Where did the desire come from to get into boxing and commentary and analysis and get onto Sky?
So I started in broadcasting in 2000. I went to university, and when I left university, I kind of paused to stop and think about what it was that I wanted to do. And you could do that then because you didn't emerge from university with the crippling debt that everybody does now. Um, I think you need a plan really before you go into higher education now, in a way that I didn't. It was quite a kind of more carefree days, if you like. And I love sport, and I looked at sports broadcasting, and it seemed like a bit of a pipe dream, but I just thought to myself, well, people do it. And I think it was easier to get into it then than it is now, because there were lots of independent local radio stations where you could try and get a foot in the door. I was lucky I started at TalkSport, and it just went from there really. And I always wanted to cover boxing. First 10 years of my career, I did as much boxing as I could, but it was mainly football because football dominates, and I really enjoyed that. But as soon as I felt like I'd done enough to be able to go to boxing and be able to say, look, you don't really know me for boxing, but here's what I've done, that's what I did. And bit by bit, I just started to concentrate on boxing more and more, because it's just, I think once you started working in it, I'm not sure if you can ever really leave, because it's not like anything else. It's inside the ring, outside the ring, the kind of, the chaos, the uncertainty, the jeopardy of it, the unpredictability of it, the characters you meet, the places you go. There's nothing like it. I mean, I'm addicted to it now, and I don't think, I can't imagine not doing it. I can't imagine not doing it.
It's an undying passion. It's a part of our lives. What football team do you support?
I'm a Manchester United fan.
I'm Man United. I'm a West Ham fan, so.
Well, I live in Upton Park, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I live in Upton Park.
Did you ever go to the old ground?
Yeah, I did quite a lot. The 10 years or so I did football, I went to West Ham quite a bit. Yeah, the old ground. I remember the first year or so I went was before they even remodelled it. So you had the old chicken run and you know, when it was really tight to the pitch, because when they redid it, I think it lost a bit because they brought that main grandstand.
They retracted it,
yeah, they brought it back and it wasn't quite the same. But yeah, I always enjoyed going there. I love covering football. It was great. You know, it was really, really fun. And I got to do loads of great stuff. And I look back on it with a lot of fondness. But I just got to a point where I realised you couldn't really do both. It was a nice idea to think that you could do both, but you couldn't really. You needed to concentrate on one. And yeah, I chose boxing.
And not to digress, we'll end off on football here and come back onto the boxing. But a young England team, do you believe it's coming home this year?
I really hope so, because I do feel like they're good enough to win something. It's so hard to win those international tournaments, and I did worry when they lost the final of the Euros last time that it's so hard to get to these finals, and they were so close. And watching the World Cup was frustrating because even though they lost in the quarterfinals, I felt they were really close there too, because I think they're a better team than they were for the Euros, and I really felt like they could have won that tournament. So I didn't think, as often is the case in the World Cup, I didn't really feel like there was an outstanding team, and I really do feel like they're good enough to do it. And you're not kind of going into a tournament hoping that maybe other people don't really perform or we pull out a performance from nowhere. They're good enough to do it. And it would be really, really great to see them do it, because, you know, they get, the scrutiny on them is unbelievable, and the criticism they get is pretty harsh a lot of the time. And Southgate as well, I think particularly. You can always look at what somebody's done and ask whether somebody else could have done better. But the reality is, like I said, it's incredibly difficult to win one of these tournaments, and that's the only thing that he hasn't done. So yeah, I really hope they do it. It'd be great.
100%. And again, it reminisces, especially for the younger generation, the 2018 semi-final against Croatia, the 2020 or 2021 final. And as you say, it's so hard to get to those finals. So I really hope they do. And I agree with you there. We're not relying on other teams to have flaws. We're relying on us just being successful. Now, I've heard other people talk about it off camera, and I'm going to get your perspective of it. Are you one of the people that loves the Saudis and loves the shows that they're putting on there, or do you think it's taking it a little bit away from Britain and it's putting it overseas?
I don't have a problem with it. The way I look at it is, it's kind of like the Champions League. You know, we have our domestic leagues, and obviously there's different promoters and different TV all competing in that same domestic league, which keeps it nice and vibrant and nice and healthy. And the Saudis really are looking to try and make fights that other people haven't been able to, which is the case with Fury Usyk. Joshua Wilder looks like it won't happen now, but that was another fight in that bracket. The rest of us, if you like, had plenty of time to make that happen, and no one had done it. So if they're looking to make fights like that and then populate the rest of the card with fighters who maybe, to a degree, haven't had the opportunities they should have had, someone like Frank Sanchez, because why the Who Needs Him Club is something we talk about in boxing, and it's we shouldn't have one of them. It shouldn't be the case that somebody should be able to be avoided. So if they're going to give opportunities to fighters like that and just put on big fights, then they're not going to do it every week. I think maybe 4 or 5 a year. And if they move outside of heavyweight into other divisions and make fights that, again, it looks like might not be able to be made by anybody else, then I don't really see where the problem is. Yes, they're paying lots and lots of money, and to an extent you could argue that distorts the market, but there's always someone distorting the market in boxing. If you look at the last few years, there was PBC and all the hedge fund money, and people were complaining about that. And DAZN in the USA needed to make a big splash, so they were paying a lot of money, and it just, there's always someone arriving from somewhere doing something. So yeah, I don't see the issue with it. I really don't. And I think the only thing it's kind of missing is the atmosphere in the stadium.
Yeah.
In the arena, because that's yet to really arrive, but these things can take time.
And which one was your favourite one? Was it the Fury and Ngannou, or was it the Day of Reckoning with AJ and Waller?
I was more of a fan of the Day of Reckoning because it was kind of pure boxing card, if you like, and Fury and Ngannou, at least when I went into it, I never felt it was a gimmick because they're getting in there for real, and Ngannou was much better than I thought he was going to be. But it's a cross-code thing, whereas the Day of Reckoning was pure boxing, and it was a good card. We saw some upsets. It was and to put it together as quickly as they did, given that we didn't end up getting what we thought we would get, which is Fury Usyk, it was impressive.
And who do you reckon wins the Fury Usyk contest?
I'm not really sure now. I've always backed Fury, so I'll stick with Fury. Because he's never been someone who I've been able to bet against with any degree of confidence. But I think the gap has narrowed off the back of what I saw against Ngannou. Yeah, I don't think we'll see that Fury again. And it could be that we see the best ever Fury because he'll be stung by what happened. And I don't think there was ever going to be any chance of complacency against Usyk in a fight of that magnitude. But I think now, after what happened against Ngannou, he will be more on it probably than he's ever been. So I will stick with Fury, but I do think that could be a very close fight.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
So long, gone off. Didn't expect to be here too long today, but anyway, turn it off and I'll delay that. So anyways, sorry about that. Caught me off guard. I appreciate that. And one thing I've taken from a few other heavyweights who've been around in the scene, I feel like they've said this fight has woken Fury up, that he wouldn't go into Usyk as easy as expected. And I agree with you there, because it was Fury all the way, and now it changes the perception of fans. And Usyk, pound for pound, one of the best greats, pound for pound, one of the best out there right now and all-time greats. Before we conclude, I want to get your opinion on it, and someone who's been in boxing 20 years, almost longer than how old I am, not to call you old, but what do you make of Misfits and what do you make of like KSI and to me? Because the difference with Francis and Tyson, it's Conor and Floyd. It's the best in MMA versus the best in boxing. Whereas what do you reckon of Tommy Fury and KSI and all of these pro boxers going into the YouTube scene, like Jake Paul?
I mean, it's an interesting one because Jake Paul, I feel like he's buckled down to being a professional boxer and he really wants to try and make an impact in the sport, and he definitely trains hard. And I think he really puts it in. I'm not saying that KSI doesn't train hard, because you look at the physical condition he's in and he must train hard. But I think for him, it is just all a little bit more of a pantomime. I'm not sure he's really got any intention of fighting anyone above the standard of Tommy Fury. And no disrespect to Tommy Fury, but he is a novice professional, currently probably around about English title level. I think that's a fair assessment. And that's a very respectable level. The more I watch of it, sometimes it does make me wonder if they are doing boxing a bit of a disservice. with some of them, not all of them, with the way they behave and the way they carry on, and how everything has to be a fight to the way in, or just some kind of like low rent banter where you're insulting people's girlfriends and mothers and whatever else. And I'm not, because the casual observer will look at that and they'll think that that's professional boxing, and it isn't. So I do think that some of them could respect the sport more in the way they behave. But if people want to watch it, I've never been angry about it. It's up to the individual what they do. My fear has always been that someone will get badly hurt, and then that will rebound badly on boxing. So I don't know. I feel like it might run out of steam before too long. But I mean, Jake Paul's called out Vidal Riley. I mean, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Again, Vidal Riley was the name in my head. Jake Paul versus Vidal Riley and Tommy Fury versus Vidal Riley. Who do you think wins?
Oh, Vidal Riley. I think that Vidal Riley's comfortably better than both of them, yeah.
And penultimate question, just before I let you go, what's your one motivational message to the world? Sorry, because you've got people waiting. Penultimate question, just before I let you go, what is your one motivational message to the world for fans to block out the outside noise, block out the haters, block out the negativity, and follow and pursue their dreams?
Always bet on yourself. That's something somebody said to me a while ago, and it's a self-belief thing, but always bet on yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. You have to have belief in what you're doing. And that doesn't mean you have to be deluded. Being realistic is a good thing. You need to have your eyes open and know what you're going into, but just always back yourself. What you don't want to do is regret not going for something. If you're unsure as to whether you should do it or not do it, do it. Because you're much more likely to regret not doing something than doing it. And if it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way. Sometimes on Instagram and social media, you'll see all these people trying to transmit this message whereby everything's amazing and they're winners and they don't even know what it's like to lose. It's bullshit. Anyone who claims that they never lost anything has just never competed. It's as simple as that.
I love to hear it, and that were beautiful words and motivational words, not just for me, not just for you, but for the world, and that hit me deeply. Just to let you go, what is the message to your fans and everyone that supported and tuned in and comes sees you at shows and media days and pays attention to have an interview with you?
I mean, it's not about me. It's never about me. It's always about the fighters. I'm a facilitator, and add on, and I'm very glad to be. I love doing this. It's great fun. I always feel like, it's one of those jobs where you take what you do seriously and do it as well as you can, but don't take yourself too seriously. And it's perfectly possible to do both. In the media, you can see quite a lot of people who get a bit carried away with themselves, and egos can be a difficult thing sometimes. We've all got a bit of an ego, but you never want it to be an obstructive ego. So I just love doing this. I enjoy doing it. I feel like it's a real privilege to just be able to do it, because I was able to pursue this career because my parents kind of indulged it, and I've always known how lucky I was that they were prepared to do that and let me do that, because not everybody has that luxury. So if you can find something you love and find a way to make money from it, then then you are in a, you've got to appreciate it and smile about it, because you could be doing something else.
I love to hear that, and that again inspires me, because this is an undying passion. Thank you so much.
Stick at it.
Thank you so much, Andy Clarke, and thank you, because again, I could be the shy kid, I could be the one with social anxiety just over there sitting into the corner, or no, I go for it, and again, what if it can turn out better than you expect? So thank you so much, and hope to catch up with you in future, Andy Clarke. Thank you.